Morning. Well, we're excited to be here. We're excited to be joined by our Education Commissioner, Manny Diaz, our Commerce Secretary, Alex Kelly, Osceola County Manager, Don Fisher, Brad Ferguson from Skywater Technology, and Esenia Hernandez, who's a student here at Neo City Academy, and they're going to be able to talk about some good stuff. Now, we have a lot of exciting things going on in the state of Florida. I think if you look at where we are in things like aerospace, aviation, military and defense, transportation, logistics, we are really, really leading the way across a lot of different industries, and this is really something that's been exciting. We have 20 major military installations, 3 spaceports, 15 deep water seaports, 20 commercial service airports, and over 100 other airports, and more than 24,000 manufacturing establishments, which is really, really good. Now, a lot that goes into some of those industries, as well as other advanced industries, is semiconductors and the idea of these chips, which are really an essential component to many businesses, not just in our state, not just in this country, but all around the world. You actually could do everything at this point, soup to nuts, for many of these industries and not even have to leave the state of Florida, because we've put a lot of emphasis on workforce, on infrastructure, so we have an ability to have a strong supply chain here, right here domestically in the state of Florida. And the semiconductors, of course, are foundational. One of the reasons why you hear a lot of talk about the ambitions of China vis-a-vis Taiwan is because Taiwan is a major hub for chip manufacturing, and it's a lot of which you use on your devices have roots in Taiwan, and so that's something that would have major impacts on the entire economy throughout the entire world if you were able to see the CCP take over that industry, let alone Taiwan. So we want to be able to do more domestically, and this is something that we've been working for a number of years. In fact, we were here at Neo City a couple years ago to announce an infrastructure grant for Osceola. I think Don was here at the time for Neo City, as well as workforce education grant for Valencia College. And so they can support the same talent pipeline that we're seeing here. So because of some of the things that we've done over the past few years, Florida is now the 5th largest employer of semiconductor manufacturing in the nation. We're also a leader in advanced packaging for chips, which is an important part of the process. So we've continued to invest, including most recently, we just awarded last week $35 million in workforce capital dollars to 28 school districts for both high schools and technical colleges, including Osceola County, and 8 state colleges, including Valencia, for workforce capital costs for semiconductor education programs. So this is giving young people really good tools to be able to be in this industry. And those awards were also meant to complement the $28 million in investments that our Department of Commerce made in November for Neo City, Valencia College, Santa Fe State College, Eastern Florida State College, and Lake Charter Technical College. So that's a major impact for Central Florida with that money that has been allocated, and so we're proud to do that. And so that's a lot. So if you look at everything that we've been able to do, we've now invested about $380 million for various components of semiconductor education and infrastructure, and primarily it's education and workforce training, but we've also done things to assist with the infrastructure. So I'm just grateful to say the vast majority of the investments are workforce talent pipeline investments, and we've also done critical infrastructure like Neo City, $23 million all told for Neo City. And we're proud to do that. Many of these students will hopefully spend time on the job training and maybe even working here for a long time. Now, looking forward in this legislative session, we have put in the governor's recommended budget. I'm not sure both houses have picked this up yet, although I think likely one of them will soon. We're recommending $80 million for the University of Florida for a semiconductor institute. in conjunction with the University of Florida, and that's for capital costs as well as operating costs, and that'll not only be good for students, you're going to end up seeing businesses want to come and locate alongside that. So I think it's exciting opportunities, and we're continuing to get ahead. Now, everything that we're doing in this money, this is not the CHIPS Act that the federal government did. Anytime we do anything, people try to say, oh, is that Biden's money? First of all, it's your money, not Biden's money, okay? And like, they're putting you in debt to do a lot of this. But it's a different approach, I think, and while I think nationally facilitating semiconductor industry is important, and there are things you may need to do, you know, with incentives and regulatory. I think that's good. But I think what the CHIPS Act is really doing, and they haven't even given a lot of money out yet, none of it will come to the state or local communities. What they're doing is really they're just giving money to businesses individually. And so it's almost like a venture capital operation. You know, there's a lot of perils with that in terms of whether that's going to be successful or not. But that is kind of how Washington's approach is. And I think that, and we'll see what ends up happening in terms of any investments with that in the state of Florida. But there's a lot of strings attached to that. A lot of these ideas are not fully baked. And so who knows how successful that'll ultimately be. But I think what we're doing is we're really focusing on the things that are going to make a difference. Because if you look at Arizona, for example, there's the Taiwanese company's got a footprint there, and they're talking about, I guess the CHIPS Act has agreed, that federal government's agreed to fund. They have trouble finding workers. They don't do. So we're meeting that demand here in Florida. We're giving opportunities for programs for students to be able to get this, and then they're going to be able to go out. There's a huge demand for this. That's been kind of our philosophy with everything we've done, is if you look, we've increased manufacturing jobs by, I think, 100,000 manufacturing jobs in the last few years. We have more manufacturing jobs than New York State does. I mean, New York State used to be one of the hubs of industry in this country. We have more manufacturing jobs. We're getting close to 500,000 manufacturing jobs. And so but what we've done, I think, and why we're attractive, yes, low tax, light regulatory burden, good place to do business, but we are working really hard to equip students with the skills necessary to succeed in these fields. Our high school students are graduating with certifications. State colleges are geared to a lot of the high demand fields, and these are things that are important. So when businesses see that, they know they have an ability to have talent coming in. And that's for something that's more sophisticated, like semiconductor, but it's also kind of basic industry that we've kind of walked away from as a country that we need to reclaim. And these are really important skills that people can develop, and these are really important jobs. So we're proud of that. So I think our approach with semiconductor compared to Washington, I think Washington's trying to pick winners and losers. There's a lot of perils in that. We're saying let's create a solid foundation in Florida, invest in the critical infrastructure, invest in workforce development and the talent pipeline. That's ultimately how you're going to be able to expand this industry here in the state of Florida. And the fact that we're now number 5 in employment, no one would have thought that was possible probably 15 or 20 years ago, and here we are doing that. So we're excited about the opportunity to secure the funding for the University of Florida Semiconductor Institute, and it may not even be located in Gainesville. They may choose to locate it somewhere else in the state under the UF banner. Maybe someplace where there would be more businesses likely to start and expand, and that's fine. But I think given this money, we'll be able to provide for the infrastructure, and we'll be able to provide for the good workforce training. So we're excited to be here. I'm going to hear from some other folks right now. So first, we're going to hear from our Education Secretary, Manny Diaz.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you. And first and foremost, I want to thank Governor DeSantis for his unwavering commitment to workforce education, ensuring that students have essential skills for success, especially in the dynamic industries like semiconductor manufacturing. Thank you, Governor. And because of his leadership, We have partnerships, and I'm very proud of our state colleges. I see President Plinsky here and the incredible lab that you already have on your campus and the partnerships with our school districts. It's all about becoming one system under Governor DeSantis' leadership to move for opportunities for our students that are going to benefit and naturally provide for these industries to have a workforce. I also want to thank Secretary Kelly and the partnership that we've been able to forge, joining the workforce and grant component with the monies that we have at the Department of Education to make this investment. $35 million, as the governor mentioned, is the education portion of this coming from the Department of Education, and we continue to lead in workforce education. In addition to the funding that's invested in programs aligned with the semiconductor industry, the Florida Department of Education has taken steps to ensure we have training programs in place to meet the workforce needs of our growing economy. Two examples of that: in October 2023, the State Board of Education approved 2 new post-secondary frameworks for semiconductor training. The first is an Associate's in Science degree in Semiconductor Engineering Technology of 60 credit hours. This is a comprehensive program to prepare students for roles in semiconductor engineering. And the second is a college credit certificate in semiconductor clean room operator, which is 18 credit hours. And this certificate is focused on specialized skills for clean room operations and semiconductor manufacturing. I had the opportunity to meet with President Plinsky to talk about that very room, which mimics a clean room, which is something essential and you have to have in the semiconductor manufacturing industry. So both programs are designed to meet the current standards of the semiconductor industry and provide students with industry-aligned knowledge in schools. This is what makes sense. This is Governor DeSantis' leadership of doing things that make sense for our students to have opportunity. Not everybody's going to go to a 4-year school. Not everybody's going to graduate. A lot of folks have the opportunity to get certificates and go straight into the workforce and make a great living, by the way, doing that without being saddled with debt. So Florida's success in career and technical education is evident with nearly 800,000 K-12 students in CTE, over 412,000 post-secondary CTE students, and more than 20,000 registered apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship. That's where the rubber meets the road. Again, thank you, Governor DeSantis, for that and your leadership. This has resulted in over 5 million students who have participated in Florida's career and technical education coursework since 2018, when Governor DeSantis became governor of Florida. Recognizing Florida's commitment to generating 2 million new jobs by 2030, there's specific emphasis on high-demand sectors like semiconductor, aviation, energy, cybersecurity, and information technology. To support this trajectory, we will continue to prioritize workforce education, ensuring that our students here in Florida have long-term opportunities in these fields. Thank you very much again, Governor.
Okay.
Well, again, good morning. My name is Alex Kelly, Secretary of Commerce, and again, thank you, Governor, for everything you've done to give Commissioner Diaz, myself, the leadership, and really empowering us to work and be active partners with President Plinsky, with Don Fisher, with the team here at Neo City in Osceola County and around the state. And so much of what I think the governor talked about, what we've done, has come from incredible partnership. If the president reaches out to me, if Don reaches out to me, Don really knows this. If Don reaches out to me and says, we need the Department of Commerce at a meeting, whenever that is, it could be 8 a.m. tomorrow, I'm there. That did actually happen back in August. I got up at 3 a.m. in Tallahassee and drove down here to be here. The great thing about that and the partnership that we have, the direction that we've gotten from the governor is that we're going to continue to be here. We've done so much, rolled out so much, but we're going to continue to support this community, what's happening here. This is truly a unique story, and what you're doing here is really showing the way forward for the state. The great part about that meeting, where I drove down from Tallahassee very early in the morning, is that the day before, the governor had given myself and Commissioner Diaz the green light to really target some of our grant programs specifically for the semiconductor industry. Don was actually pitching an investor, a venture capital investment in this work, and so I slipped that into the conversation. I think that helped. I think it went well, but that's really where we're going to be. Is we're going to be here constantly on the ground. But just a couple things. I want getting into when the governor talked about the types of investments we're making at all levels of education. I've had some very impressionable moments being here at Neo City, here specifically at the Academy, and being over at Valencia College. When I was here back in maybe June, getting a tour of the academy, and a couple incredible students were giving this tour, and a young man, maybe 15, maybe 16 years old, he was talking about where he come from, his future. He was talking about he wanted to go to either Stanford or the University of Florida. I was making the hard sell for the University of Florida. Absolutely. I started saying, well, do you need help with how Bright Futures works? I was channeling you, Secretary Davis, and then I said, and I might know a couple people at the University of Florida. I can make an introduction or two. And at maybe 16 years old, he just looked at me straight in the eye and he says, I got it. And but that's what you're doing. You're taking young minds here and you're elevating them and you're giving them the courage and the competencies and the skills to say, I got it. And it's incredible what you're going to do. And obviously, they've got this incredible environment right across the street where they can go work, grow, and learn. And you're really doing something amazing. Well, also, when I went to see what the team at Valencia College is doing, it was a really interesting aspect of this educational vertical that the governor has really directed us to create. And that is at the robotics and semiconductor program there. And President, please, if I get this wrong, tell me. I believe the robotics component, 9 weeks of training, 13, okay. I got it backwards. 13 weeks in robotics. And somehow in 5 minutes they trained me to use these robots and not mess them up. But 13 weeks in robotics, and then 9 weeks, is that right, in the semiconductor side. 22 weeks of training. I asked a question, tell me about the students. What's their background? And the president said, we have a lot of students who are in their early 30s with just a high school diploma. And that is startling. What the governor is doing, what we're doing here, what you're doing here, you're creating an opportunity for someone with a high school diploma in their 30s who says, you know what, I want something better for me and my family. I want something better. You're creating an opportunity where in 22 weeks they can come out with a very high-skilled job that, literally it has value around the world. Please stay here in Florida, but is really, truly an incredible opportunity. So we're going to be here early, often, and again, because the governor's charge to us is really empower that education vertical at every level, high school, tech college, state college, university, research and development, really all along that way, and that obviously creates then great points of investment for Don and the team as they try to grow interest here. So again, thank you, pleasure to be here, and we'll be back often, and look forward to continue to support you.
All right, Don.
Governor DeSantis, thank you so much for being back in Neo City, and thank you for your leadership, for all that you've done to make Osceola County the home for Florida's semiconductor industry. Greatly appreciated. Honored to have you here. Thank you. As most of you know, Osceola County is remarkably reliant upon tourism. We're hypersensitive to downturns in the recession, and it was really evident for us during the Great Recession. So back about 10 years ago, the Osceola County Commission adopted a goal to grow and diversify our economy, and out of that, we see Neo City today. And Governor, because of your support and the investments that you and the state of Florida have made into Neo City, this positioned this site to be 5 years ahead of anyone else in the country who's pursuing a similar cluster in advanced packaging. So we're way ahead of the game when it comes to enticing industry and create those jobs for our community. Your belief in what we are doing at Neo City has also been affirmed by the federal government. We recently received the Build Back Better grant award that the governor referred to. We're in the top 16 for the National Science Foundation Innovations Engine. And then we were recently awarded, Osceola County, $289 million, up to $289 million from the Department of Defense REACH and Cornerstone program. That makes us, to further advanced packaging for the benefit and security of the United States. That makes Osceola County the only local government prime contractor for the Department of Defense. It is critical for the nation to be America's first truly complete microchip advanced packaging line, but it also fulfills our vision to create jobs for the people that live within this community. The state's 3 job growth grants that have been received by the county to build infrastructure is what's necessary to take this to the next level. The new roads, shared lab space, and secured SCIF will allow chip startup companies to mature, usher in next generation technological advances, and provide reliable and secure microchips, not only for the commercial industry, but for the government as well. When we set out to create Neo City, we didn't do it to be in the semiconductor industry. We did it to create new job opportunities, 21st century jobs for the people that grow up here, especially the kids. And it's really the kids that go to an entire school district, and particularly Neo City Academy. And Yesenia Hernandez is going to speak in a moment, one of the star students that attends here. Your support and the foundational investments from the state are allowing the county and our community partners to make good on their vision. Equally important, this site will represent the front line in meeting the critical national security needs of building a domestic semiconductor industry and reshoring advanced packaging. We can't thank you enough for all of your support, and we look forward to continuing to work with you and your office to make Neo City the capital of America's advanced packaging effort. Thank you, Governor.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. I'm very excited to be here with Governor DeSantis and our other distinguished visitors as we acknowledge the investments that are being made in education for the semiconductor industry. With the passage of the CHIPS and Science Act that the governor talked about, America is waking up to the reality that we've offshored too much of our expertise in manufacturing semiconductors. In creating the next generation of semiconductor engineers, scientists, and technicians is a critical first step in taking back the lead we once held. And so I welcome the governor's announcement in investing in education supporting semiconductors, which is critical for economic and national security. So my name is Brad Ferguson, and I'm the Senior Vice President and General Manager for one of SkyWater's lines of business. I was privileged to negotiate our entrance into Florida and to start up operations here in Kissimmee beginning in January of 2021. So SkyWater is a semiconductor manufacturer which places a heavy emphasis on developing novel technologies that provide differentiated domestic capabilities. One example